Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Mr. Fitness, the body transformation specialist. And on tonight's episode of Weight Loss Warriors, we're going to be speaking with NauBriana. So I'm pretty sure I probably pronounced her name incorrectly, but we're going to find that out tonight. And not only that, but we're going to find out exactly how she's seen so much success in her weight loss journey so far and what she plans on doing to continue to be successful. So before we get her on so she can tell her awesome weight loss story, if you've missed any of the past episodes of Weight Loss Warriors and you'd like to get caught up after the live, head on over to youtube.com/fitnessmotivation4u2. That's fitness motivation, the number 4, the letter U, the number 2. There you'll be able to watch every single episode of Weight Loss Warriors plus some other really good content. And while you're there, consider subscribing and hit that bell notification so you never ever miss another episode. Also, if you've got a weight loss story that you'd like to share and you'd like to do it here on a future episode of Weight Loss Warriors and you're watching us live, go ahead and DM me. But if you're watching this on YouTube, down below in the description, click the link and let's talk about getting you on a future episode of Weight Loss Warriors. Last but not least, if you're looking to start a weight loss journey but you don't know what to do, or you've already started a journey but maybe you're not getting results, I'd love to help. If you're watching this live, go ahead and DM me and let's talk. But if you're watching this on YouTube, down below in the description, click the link and let's talk about working together and getting you in the best shape of your life. Now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's see if we can get NauBriana on the show. In just a few moments, guys, and if you have any questions for her during the live, go ahead and add them up on the screen. Go ahead and type them in, and I'll make sure she gets those questions. There she goes. Okay, she is with us. What's going on?
Not much. How are y'all doing?
We're doing pretty good. I know I'm doing good, and I know everybody is super excited about hearing your story tonight and learning what they can learn and taking away so they can apply to their own lives and get the same results that you've gotten. So tonight is all about you. Let's talk about your journey. Before we get into the interview, did I pronounce your name correctly?
I was like, he didn't give himself enough credit. You actually did. You did it right.
Hey, look, you know, I practiced that so many times from the last time that we spoke, and I was like, I know I'm still gonna get it wrong, but I guess I was wrong. I got it right. So
you did it right.
Clap.
Yeah.
All right, but tonight is about you and your weight loss story. So my first question is, what was your highest weight when you started your journey?
My highest weight was 365 pounds.
So 365, where are you at today?
I'm currently sitting at 215.
Okay, so 365 to 215.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long did it take you to get from where you started to where you're at today?
That took about 2 years.
Okay, so about 2 years it took you to accomplish that. Now, did it feel like a long 2 years, or did it feel like time flew by?
Right now, I can say it felt like it flew by, but in the process, long 2 years.
It always feels like that in the process.
Yes.
So what is your goal weight? Where are you looking to take this journey? Where do you see yourself ending up?
Well, I've been wanting to hit 199 for quite some time, just to be under that 200 mark. And that's what I see myself, not necessarily the number, you know, but it would be nice to just not see a 2 in front of it all the time. And I've seen when I've got close to 199 that I was really satisfied with, you know, how I looked. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we want to just get under the 2, somewhere in the 190s. You think you'd feel comfortable?
I think so. It may change when I get there, but
okay, exactly, because you may get there and realize that you want to go further, or you may get there and sometimes people realize they want to go up a little bit. So you never know, like you said, until you get there.
Mm-hmm.
So how long do you think it should take you to get from where you're at to your goal?
I don't know. I think I don't think there's a specific time on that, you know, but if I really was consistent enough, I do believe that it might take me anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think the key that you just mentioned, and this is something that I want to talk about a little bit later, but the key you just mentioned is if I was consistent enough. So I know based on our conversation, consistency was one of the things that you struggled with during parts of your journey. Why do you
Right.
think being consistent is so important to your success?
Well, I mean, it just, for me, you won't see it until you've actually really committed to it that way. I mean, it's just another level of commitment to yourself. When you're not committed, you can see it in, there's a lack of consistency. It's just the proof is there. You can look back and ask yourself, what did I not do this time, that prevented me from reaching my goal when I reached it a lot sooner, maybe the last goal I hit. And you can go back and if you track your food or whatever it is, then you'll see all those littles that say, oh, it's just a donut. Oh, it's just, like those add up. That's a lack of.
Mm-hmm. So obviously consistency sounds like it's going to be it's played a huge part in your ups and downs and your eventual success. And it's going to play a huge part in going forward for you to see more success. So it sounds like a key ingredient, but what are some of the other key ingredients that you need to apply with that consistency to continue to see results and get to your ultimate goal?
For me, it's going to be tracking my food consistently, as well as continuing to work out at least 4 days a week, 4 or 5. And the other one was eating less carbs. That was a huge one for me because I never really tracked my carbs. And when I started seeing the results.
Mm-hmm. So for you, is it more about calories consumed, or is it about the macronutrients and how many carbs you eat versus proteins and fats? Which is more important to you?
Yeah, the second one. Now it's the second one. But early on, when I was heavier, I could track the calories and it would be fine. But, once I hit a certain number on the scale, it was really specific to the fats and, the calories as well as the carbs, sodium, etc.
So what do you think it is about carbs? And I'm actually writing a book on carbs and specifically carb cycling. So if you're interested in knowing what carb cycling is, I'm in the research phase right now, and hopefully I won't stay there too long, but it's coming. So what do you think is so important about carbs that you need to cut them to reach your goals?
I mean, it just kind of, as I'm reading about it and what I'm taking in, it's just comparing it to, I guess, the average of what I'm supposed to be eating. That's when I guess when I do research and I look at it, I see it's such a huge amount. That's really all I could base it off of to say that's got to be what it is. When it comes down to where I should be. As far as my body. So it's really that much, and I'd be that person interested in the book you're writing, so I could learn about it. I think it would help me be more consistent the more educated I am on it, right?
Well, and that's the one thing I tell my clients is that my goal with a lot of my clients is to make sure that at the end of the day, I impart as much knowledge as possible on them, because I understand the more they know and the more they understand, the more they are going to adhere to the program. So if you not only understand what to do, but you also understand why you're doing it and the benefits you're going to get from it, you're more likely to put those things into play rather than just somebody telling you what to do, but you really not understanding why. So, that's a huge thing. It sounds like I always say in this show and just in life in general, the people that get the best results are the ones that commit to doing what's necessary. So you figure out what your problem is. You identify a solution, but you take action and you do it consistently, because a lot of people, the reason why they fail is because they do something, but they don't do it often enough because they're expecting that quick change and that quick result. And we all know that. I mean, you've been on your journey. Tell the people again that just joined us how long you've been on your journey and how much weight you've lost so far.
It's going over almost 3 years now. I'll reach 3 years in August 22nd. Not that I'm counting or anything, but that was the day I made the choice, right? And I've lost 150 so far.
So 150 is a huge deal, and you deserve a round of applause just for that, just for where you've gotten so far. But I think people they're paying attention to the fact that that's 3 years in the making. And the reality is most people never get to that 150 pounds because they just give up before they start to see the results. So, you know, what I tell people, and I would love to hear your opinion on this, is that in order to really start to see results, you need to be consistent with something for a minimum of 4 months to really give your body time to respond to it and get your body used to it. What do you think when it comes to when somebody should really start to look to see results?
As far as, well, I guess in that, like you said, that 90 days or a little bit after that, really just committing to your diet, really sticking to that. Pick one, find something you like, something that's tasteful but healthy, you know, something that it makes sense, to not where you're gonna get tired of it, you don't even like it, you know, like there's healthy food that tastes good out there, so sticking to that and like tracking it. For me, I had to track I think I tracked my food a year straight, and it makes it easy for you. It sounds like a lot, but you know, you can use MyFitnessPal, scan foods in and stuff like that, and you just I was reading on another one where it says most people who are consistent, they tend to eat a lot of the same things all the time.
For sure.
Tastes good. That, I mean, some people say, "Oh, I would get tired of that." You know, I'll spice it up a bit, but I ate a lot of the same things, and using substitutes. You know, if I really liked Reese's peanut butter cups, so I would find a good protein bar, you know, that tastes similar to it, and you know, kind of that was like my reward for myself, and I stuck with that. That really helped me on my journey and sticking to what I could do, as far as workout goes. You know, if all I had was 15 minutes, I would stick to 15 minutes. I would do that 15 minutes consistently. And, you know, eventually it was in my head that I could only do 15 minutes. Then all of a sudden they're 45 minutes, you know, it was just about showing up basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy that you say, you know, about the people that are most consistent are the people that do the same things when it comes to the diet. And it is true. I've been in this business for over 30 years, and what I've noticed is that the people that are most successful with weight loss are the ones that have very little variety in their diets. They eat the same things over and over again. Look, you have two different types of people. You have people that eat to live, and you have people that live to eat. And I'm not advocating that you be on one end of the spectrum when it comes to what you need to do. But what I am saying is that you probably need to ride one side of it more than the other. And if you're always needing variety in your diet, it's going to be very difficult for you to find what works. So pick something. And again, like you said, that doesn't mean that you have to eat boring, tasteless things. You got to find something that works and be sensible, but stick with it. And, you know, I understand we're humans and we have so much variety. Like I always say, you know, my dog eats the same thing every day and he never complains. You know, if we could be like that as human beings, we would all be not only slimmer, but healthier.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I used to wish we didn't have taste buds. I remember that.
We'd be good to go.
I was like, this just fuel, right? I just need nutrients. I don't need to taste this, you know, like that's what ruined everything.
Exactly. Let's just, you know, just take it down, hold your nose, hold your breath, and just, you know, do what you got to do. And eventually, so it's also about creating new habits. You know, tracking. You said you tracked for over a year straight. And it's difficult in the beginning because it's tedious and you got to track everything. So not only do you got to track everything, but comes with that is weighing and measuring your foods. And people don't want to do that. But what people don't realize is that once you make it a habit, it becomes much easier. It's just like any habit. So you got to focus on replacing some of your bad habits, you know, with some good habits. And that's the sacrifice you got to make if you want to see results. You know, as I tell people, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you want to change, you want to see change, you got to change something.
Absolutely.
Guys, remember, if you have any questions during the course of this interview that you want answered, specifics, go ahead and put them up on the screen and we'll make sure we get them answered. Your questions are priority, but I got a list of questions that I want to ask because I want to, you know, learn some things tonight too. So the next question I have for you kind of goes back to the conversation that we had. We said there was a point where you were legally blind, and you said you stopped looking in the mirror for some time, but you said your sight was restored, which thank God for that.
Right.
But then you said you, at that point, once your sight was restored, you didn't like what you saw in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that was your enough is enough moment when you decided now was the time to finally do something?
Yes. That was definitely the time to actually, I mean, you know, you're overweight, like you know that's what you're carrying around, right? But to actually really take a deep look, and once my sight was restored, to say, wow, you've really did yourself in there, right? And then it's also like, you know, that wasn't the final push. It was almost just like it's like the mirror, and then seeing a picture that somebody else took of you. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's different than those selfies that you could kind of tilt and crop and do what you wanna do to be your best self in that photo. But that one was a great breaker for me.
Yeah.
I actually posted that on my Instagram maybe last year.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing how back in the day before smartphones and we were taking pictures with disposable cameras and this and that, and you couldn't, you know, add filters to the picture. It was what it was.
Yeah.
And back in the day, it's always amazing because when you look at a picture of yourself, you tend to focus on things that you don't focus on when you're looking in the mirror. So you see yourself in the mirror, but then you see yourself in a photo and you're like, wait, I didn't realize that I actually looked like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, so you realized that you looked the way you didn't want to look. You took action, and you said one of the first things you did was join a gym.
Mm-hmm.
So why was that the first thing that you chose to do on your journey?
That was just something that I thought, I mean, that was something I wasn't working out at all. Like there was no physical activity outside of going to work. And I figure if I put my money in it, you know, I was investing in myself that way, then I would commit to it. You know, I would make it a priority, which really wasn't the case, but that was the first thing I attempted to do.
Yeah, because we're gonna, well, I'm gonna save this later because I think it's an important point that we talk about that. But there's some things where we talked about the fact that you joined the gym, but you didn't go for quite some time. So we're gonna get to that. But what I want to talk about next is your workouts. Exactly what do you do in your workouts?
Currently, I do about 20 to, depending on how I feel, 20 to 30 minutes of cardio. I mostly choose the Stairmaster, gets my heart rate up and just drenched in sweat. It hits parts of my body that, you know, maybe I don't feel too much when I'm on the elliptical or just doing other cardio. And then I do some rested weights as well. I probably do that for about, you know, 15 to 20 minutes or so. And that's about 4 days a week now.
So how has your workouts changed from where you started to now?
I did not lift weights at all. And when I first started, really all I could do was the elliptical. Where early on, all I could do was walk outside. And then I was able to get the membership and commit to the gym, and I could do the elliptical for maybe up to 40, 45 minutes. And that's really, I would just come in, do 45 minutes of that and leave. And I just noticed I was losing, but I didn't really necessarily like the shape of my body, and, you know, things that are kind of just, they were, you know, there was a lot of loose skin, and there was a lot that I wasn't pleased with. And I felt weak as well, you know, afterwards. So when I started lifting weights, I started seeing the results that I wanted.
So what advice would you give to a woman specifically about weight training? Because I think the stigma and the narrative has changed a little bit on women and lifting weights. And you know, back in the day when I first started in this business, it was, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get big and bulky, and I don't want to look like a man. But now, because I think of the social media age, that it's more acceptable for women to have more toned, muscular bodies. So what would you say to that woman that's still a little afraid to lift weights because of that?
I would tell her, I mean, you don't have to go extremely heavy. I don't recommend that. You know, you're still gonna it's still going to shape out, you know, the way you want it to. And what I've noticed, I've seen better results when I do it. There was a time where I wasn't doing any cardio and just lifting weights, and I was just a lot more pleased. And it doesn't hurt to try, you know, if your body's gonna react and do exactly what you tell it to do, honestly. So, you know, you could stop that at any moment and say, not liking the way that's looking, if that's the case, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it and what you do it. And you know, the goal for me is strong, not skinny. I want to be strong. So.
Mm-hmm. So what beginner advice would you give somebody? They're new to the gym. They've either never worked out before, or it's been a very long time since they've worked out. What beginner advice would you give them to get started?
I'd say start where you are with what you have, and do what you can, and focus on the day. I guess just winning the day, and think about it, it's long term. But if you can't commit to the day, then you know it's going to be a whole. It's going to be a lot tougher for you. And the advice I would give is just mostly, you know, early on, you know, if you can't even work out, you know, I would really 80% of it is the diet. So if you could really commit to that in the beginning, you're really a lot more ahead of people who they don't know where to start and what to do. That was me. You know, my first thing was like, well, get in the gym, you know, like, and it really didn't, it hit me in my journey that I was like, yeah, this diet, I'm actually going to have to commit to that too. You know, it was almost like, I want to eat the way I want to eat, and I'll just burn it off, and it doesn't work that way.
Well, you know, as the saying goes, you can't out train a bad diet.
Mm-hmm.
No way in the world. So if that's what you're thinking, if that's the one thing you take away from this show tonight, is you have to change the way you eat, regardless of how much exercise you do, regardless of what route you take. You know, I've had a lot of people on this show that have chosen that surgery is one of the ways that's going to help them get to where they want to be. And I always say, I don't care what you do to get to where you want to be. Whatever you need to do to become the best person and the best version of yourself, do it.
Yeah.
But either route, you got to change your diet. If you ain't going to change the way you eat, you ain't going to see the results. And that just is the way it is. So just deal with it and change the way you eat.
Yeah.
That's it. So let's move on to what we kind of alluded to before, is that you joined the gym. I think you said for 3 months you didn't go.
Yeah.
My first question is why?
I think it was more, I didn't have a lot of time either. I mean, I just did it like, you know, it was like spur of the moment, like just do it, go to 24 Hours Fitness and get the membership. But like, okay, how am I going to make time for this? But I didn't have a lot of time. And a lot of excuses. And then it came down to my anxiety as well, stepping into a gym, just being intimidated, not knowing what I was doing. And then it just got to the point where I lost the motivation.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to have a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that deal with that anxiety. They deal with the thought that everybody's looking at me, and I don't want to go to a gym because I don't want people looking at me. And they utilize those excuses to cause them to not go. And we do know, look, time is an excuse.
Yeah.
If you really want it, you will make the time.
Yeah.
So what happens at the end of that 3 months where you started going to the gym that caused you to say, you know what, enough of the excuses, it's time for me to get this started?
It was just kind of looking back at like I was literally in the same place or worse the next year, you know, like that's one of the things when the year comes around and you have to do like that evaluation, and I'm just like, wow, nothing's changed, because nothing's changed, right? And I had to change I was like, okay, if time is really the problem, I changed my whole career, actually. I changed because I was just that dedicated to it. It was a draining job. I was working 70 hours a week, and I ended up changing that, as well as once I changed that, I ended up, the job I did get, you know, I changed my time, my schedule, where I just had that 1 hour gap after work before I was able to pick my girls up. So I just said, I'm going to dedicate that 1 hour to myself. And it was so bad that even then, if I passed by my house, my thing was, okay, bring your gym bag every day, no matter if you feel in your mind like today's not workout day, like just bring it anyway. What if you change your mind, right? So I just brought my bag, and then I would plan, to go to the gym every day from 5 to 6. Go pick up my girls after that. But I had to change the gym that I was going to, because if I passed by my house, I wouldn't go to the gym. I'm like, oh, there's my house. Look at my house. Just go. And I would go there, and I wouldn't even go to the gym. But I had to just find a gym on the way to my house. I worked like an hour from it. I would go there to this random gym because it'd be fresh on my mind. And I didn't want to change my mind because I'm sitting in traffic and all these emotions like, oh, okay, I'm getting anxiety again, and just hop out and do it. So I literally changed my career and my schedule and my mindset to actually do it.
So you changed a lot of things that the average person wouldn't change to be successful.
Yeah.
You changed your career, you changed your gym, you made a lot of adjustments to get to where you want to be. And it shows in the amount of success that you've gotten up to this point. So a lot of times, in order for you to get something new, you got to let go of something old.
Yeah.
Some of those things that you let go of were holding you back, and you finally decided that enough was enough, and now was the time to do it. But my question, I guess, is what would you say to someone that's procrastinating on getting started, and they're coming up with every excuse in the world, and your main task is to get them to take action? What would you do? What would you say to that person?
I always say, I think about long term, think about what you want long term and what you want, base your decisions on that versus what you want now, I guess. And not making, I guess, long-term decisions in a short-term situation, because that's how I look at it. Like what we're going through, not everything is gonna, not all the bad is gonna last. But if we make those decisions in the moment that are gonna support our future, and the life we could have, then and understanding that it's not gonna stop. Like a lot of people, they say, well, I don't want to start right now because my kids' birthday's party's coming up. There's going to be cupcakes, there's a family reunion, or there's, just there's different events, or I'm going through this, my mother just passed, or, like they think it's just not a good year. It's not a good time, but there's never really a good time. There's always something happening, because that's life. And what better time to really test yourself when you're going through so much. Like, I just feel like once I'm powered through that at the toughest times of my life, when things get a little lighter for me, how much more successful I'm going to be. Imagine, the results after that. And, I really wanted to test myself. In the moment, it just felt like, man, like this is not a good time. Or people are like, you're going to the gym right now? I'm like, yeah, I am, because that makes me feel a whole lot better, and I know those long-term results. Once you're consistent, you see them, making that decision, that tough decision in the moment it's gonna pay you, it's gonna reward you later.
Yeah, and I think, some of the key things you just mentioned in what you just said is that things don't get easier by doing nothing. They only get harder. So if you believe that if I do nothing, I'm going to stay the way I am, by default, you won't, because you're going to continue to gain weight. You're going to continue to negatively affect your life. You're going to continue to have all the negative side effects of being overweight. So and I think another key thing you said is that there's never a good time or a perfect time to do it. Like the best time to do it is now. And if you've watched any of my past episodes of this show, I've said it probably on every episode that Nike has built a multi-billion-dollar company on one phrase, and that phrase is just do it. Stop putting it off, because it doesn't get any easier. And the sooner you start to see the results that you're looking for. But also at the same point, like you said, you only become stronger by one of the things I like to tell my clients is that exercise is one of the best forms of stress relief and to help you deal with what you're going through. The hard thing is it's difficult to remember that when you're going through what you're going through.
Yeah.
So just even if you got to, when I put this on YouTube, you might want to put this on your phone somewhere and save it so that you can play this back every time you're going through something, because it's just the way it is. Like it doesn't get easier by doing nothing. So just do it. But moving on, my next question for you is, looking back, 2 or 3 years later, do you wish you would have started your journey sooner? And if so, why?
I could say that, but I think I started at a time that allowed me to value my life a little more, value just time and, appreciate wellness overall. Like, in the experience that I had in that journey, I wouldn't have experienced it then. And maybe if I started it before those things came at me, I wouldn't know how to handle it. But there are things that, getting, being legally blind, etc., like, having to go through a lot of that and get transplants at the same time on my journey. I started my journey at a time where I wasn't focused. And as soon as something came along, it was easy for me to say, well, you have to get a surgery. You got to stop now, But once I've actually learned how to master that, like the journey taught me how to do that, like the losing weight, I could apply those, like the success principles and everything to everything in my life, they're universal. So it's like, there's really nothing you can't do, once you learn it. There's no going back, because you already know what you're capable of. So I think I did it at the perfect time.
So it sounds like you did. It's good that you recognize that, it's not about when you do it. It's just about doing it.
Yeah.
And like I said, you identified what your problem was. You knew you had to do something, and you did something. Now, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to your childhood. So what role do you believe your childhood played in your issues with weight as a young child and as an adult? Were you an overweight child? Yes,
I was really low self-image, and my parents were overweight as well, and I guess their self-image wasn't that well either. But and I noticed that just through that what I got, I necessarily not like teasing from like children, that didn't really affect me too much, but it was a lot of adults actually. And, just some trauma, some things where you just didn't feel good enough. You didn't feel valued, you didn't feel loved. So, it had a lot to do with it. Like why keep going, I guess.
So you mentioned about self-image and dealing with depression and all of those things. Tell us more about some specific things that might have happened during that time of your life that might have led to gearing you up for your success that you're having now. How did you turn those negatives into positives?
I think really facing them. When it comes to, I guess, what happened in my childhood was I wrote about it a lot, and I had a lot of like just reflections and realizing that a lot of it was nobody was going to value me unless I value myself. I had to build myself up, and I noticed that even now, like I accepted different things in my life, like different apology. Nobody really apologized. It was more like I accepted apology that I never received, and I didn't hold grudges. And I just felt like if I built myself up and I become, if I overcome, and I show somebody that I do actually value myself, they would start to value me as well. And that has happened. It's been a huge blessing, and I didn't realize that. It was always about me, like what somebody's doing to me, just a victim in many situations, but realizing, I can't play it forever, you know, as bad as some of the things may have been. But at some point, I do have to take control and say, well, you know, what is it that I can control in my life? And yeah, it worked wonders for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I always say, that you can't control the actions of other people, but what you can control is how you respond to the way they treat you. You can control you can control the narrative within your head that is playing when they're saying whatever they're saying. And it sounds like you learn to do that. You learn to not let their negativity affect you and the journey you were going on, because you gotta be able to you gotta realize that a lot of people that are negative towards you is not because of you. So oftentimes because they are hurting individually. And as they say, misery loves company, and it's much easier to tear other people down than it is to build them up. So let's say you're looking into this camera and you're speaking to someone that's going through something similar to that. What words of encouragement can you give to that person so that they don't give up?
I would say think about, in the moment, try to be as selfless as you can and not take things so personal. I mean, it could be personal, but don't take it personal, because like you said, most time, however we're being treated, it's they're treating you the way they treat themselves is how they feel about them. And you know, once I'm listening to people and understanding that, it helped me understand myself, and nothing affected me. You know, I wasn't offended by anything else because I didn't take anything personal, you know, except what I did to myself. So it's more of like just thinking about, it still goes back to that long term, and also what decisions you make today that will affect someone else down the line, you know, and just being the best example. If you do have children, or if you don't, you know, like the life that I live now, I would never imagine, you know, the life that I lived at that time. Like if somebody would have told me everything that I had my hands in, the opportunities that I have now, it's not, you know, what you're today is not it, you know, like there's just so much more life. And how do you know if you're not becoming the best version of you? You know, whatever it is you're going through, it's temporary. It's just so short term, and they could be turned around based on the decisions that you make today. You don't even know your next best. You don't know your next best life. You know, you don't. It's an amazing feeling. Like you like at least be curious, right? That's how I feel. Like at least be curious about what may. That's what I was. I was like, okay, what else? You know, what else is gonna happen? Like you just don't know. So, be blessed to have. To be able to actually do this. There are people who they're in positions where they physically can't, you know, just and we don't appreciate our health and our wellness enough that we're physically able to go work out, you know, to wake up every day and do it. There's some people who don't have that opportunity, and it just to stop thinking about self for once. As bad as it may be, that's really what it comes down to, because there's a lot more you could start pouring into other people just based off your own journey. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't answer it any better myself. So, you know, I think that answer perfectly leads into my next question, because you're going to have people watching this live and people that are going to watch the replay on YouTube that are frustrated. You know, they're on their journey and they're either seeing a lot of ups and downs, or they're not seeing any progress at all. And part of the goal of this show is to encourage people, to motivate people, to inspire people to not give up. So what do you say to that person that's in their journey and they're just not seeing the results that they believe they should be seeing? First of all, why do you think, I mean, and I know you don't know everybody's specific situation, but why might they not be seeing results, and why should they not give up?
Probably it goes back to that lack of consistency, you know, being persistent and patient and trusting your process, that your journey isn't going to look like everyone else's. And really, you know, when you're on it, you have to, so for me, when I wasn't getting the results, I had to really, there was some like real self-reflections I had to make, like just like really looking at myself, like, okay, have you really been that consistent? Have you, like really questioning myself where and also, are you showing yourself grace at the same time? Like there's a lot of things, especially women, we don't show ourselves a lot of grace and everything that's coming at us. Like we wear a lot of hats, different roles. And we beat ourselves down with that most times. And are you making the time for you? And, men as well, like, are you being selfish enough for yourself at the same time, taking that time out for yourself, no matter what's coming your way, what it feels like, you do deserve your time as well. And if something isn't work, if you say, okay, yeah, I have been consistent with this, or, you can check all of those off, then, if something isn't working, then maybe you should change it, right? Like, there's different, routines, there's different programs that works for some people's body, their routine works for them and what they're eating, but it doesn't work for you. So it doesn't hurt to change it. Like I had to take a look back and see, that's what led me to start eating less carbs, because that wasn't working for me. But I'm looking at someone on Instagram, like, this is what she eats. This is where she works out. This is what she does. Like, that's not your life. So that's not your body, So it's like, you have to really listen to your body. How do you feel? And just get educated, do some research, just on you. So that's the advice I'd give.
So the two main things that I took from that is being honest with yourself. And oftentimes I find that the people that don't see the results oftentimes aren't honest with themselves on how much they're actually doing. So you really have to evaluate your certain situation, your specific situation, and say, am I doing enough? And really, when you think about it, maybe you need to consult someone else, a professional. Go see a trainer that you can say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And oftentimes when people do that with me, I'm say, well, it's good that you're doing something, but the reality is you're not doing enough to get you to where you want to be. I know a lot of people, they start and they want to go work out and 3 days a week, 2 days a week. And I can tell you right now, what I've noticed over my years in this business is that anything less than 4 days a week is not going to get you the results that you seek, or it's just going to take you so long, because it's very difficult, like I said, to out train a bad diet.
Yeah.
But there's no way you're going to burn enough calories, burn enough fat to make up for all the days of the week that you're not physically active. So maybe it's not in the gym, but you need to be physically active the majority of the week, and you need to be honest with how much you're doing. And I can almost guarantee you, and this is not for everybody, but chances are the reason why you're not getting results is you're just not doing enough.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I would agree with what you said is not changing enough. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people fail, is because we're creatures of habit. So we get into a routine and we do the same things over and over and over and over and over and over. And even when it's not working, we still do it because it has become comfortable. And as we just said earlier, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So there's enough information out there on the internet, on YouTube, everywhere, where you can try something different. And that goes for diet too. Try, like you said, you realized that what you were doing wasn't working, so you decided to go low carb.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be times where your body's going to adapt to what you're doing. It's going to get used to what you're doing. You're going to then need to make changes, because you're no longer going to see results if you continue to do the same thing. So the moral of the story is, don't give up. Make changes. So let's talk about diet. Tell us more about the rest of your diet strategy. We know you do low carb, but what else do you do diet-wise that has helped you get results and you plan on doing to continue your journey?
Well, I consistently meal prep. I absolutely have to meal prep. And that's just my lunch and my, snacks, just staying prepared. It's so true that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And that works for me. I know for me, I eat very lightly in the evenings. I've done some intermittent fasting as well. That's, I may not eat after 8 p.m. and my first meal is at noon or something like that. That's helped me a lot just to cut back on the carbs and the calories that I normally take in. But my preparation has been the key for me. And I don't always eat meat either. Like I'll just go sometime, maybe a couple weeks not eating it just because I fill up on proteins with other things like beans, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen I've went a year not eating meat before, and I've gotten some really good results. I just felt a little healthier, I guess.
Yeah.
But I went back to it because I missed it. But I just could every once in a while, right? And then I do body key meal replacement shakes,
Okay.
just because that's when sometimes I do 1 to 2 a day, where I just really, there are times when I'm not getting enough protein. And then sometimes I don't really want to eat. I'm not really that hungry. But maybe I want something sweet or whatever, like, those chocolate shakes, they really do help me. And, have like 25 grams of protein. It helps me hit my goal. And I'm not having something just too heavy. For me, that's been helping, that intermittent fasting for sure. That my last year doing that has really, I've seen some really good results. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, making decisions at 360, the body I had at 365, and decisions I made to lose weight at that time, I couldn't continue doing that when I reached my goal of 250. I had to change it up, and intermittent fasting is what helped me reach the next goal.
Mm-hmm. And guys, if you want to know more about intermittent fasting, I do have a video on my YouTube channel about something that I do in intermittent fasting that kind of turns up the results a little bit more. So go ahead and check that out after the live.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about, let's say someone is completely uneducated on diet and they want to make changes. What's the first thing that they should do? And I have an idea of what you're going to say based on our conversation so far, but what's the one thing they should do to get started?
They should remove a lot of I removed a lot of temptations out of my household. If you don't have it, if it's not there, you can't eat it, right? I mean, you can make it hard for yourself to get to it. I know that, number one. And then, like I said, meal prepping, but taking a look at all the ideas out there online. There's so much on Pinterest. Like, if you like, man, I just really love Big Macs. I've just been addicted to Big Macs. You can get on there and see like a good healthy substitute for a Big Mac. Like, it's not a Big Mac, but it tastes just like it, right? Just finding those substitutes really helped me. And the other one, what was I gonna say? I think when it goes back to just those like the sweets and stuff. I think I mentioned that earlier. Just finding the good.
You're there. You kind of froze up on me, but I think you're back now. Not yet. I know you're there because I can kind of hear you coming in and out. But I think, and I want to kind of fill in the blanks while her connection's coming back. That the main thing is that you make some changes, and if I know you're still there. I know you're probably talking, and some of you probably can hear her, but on my end, there you go. So I was about to fill in the blanks, but kind of rewind a little bit because you kind of froze up on me, and I want to make sure that everybody gets that knowledge that you were just dropping.
Say it one more time because you broke up on that part.
We breaking up today.
Yeah.
So back up a little bit on that nutrition advice that you were given, the things they should start with, the one or so things they should start with.
I mentioned finding, like online, looking for those healthy meals online, like those good substitutes. Like Pinterest is a really good option. I don't know if they heard that part, but if you
were talking
really
about Big Macs, I remember that because I do
yeah.
like a Big Mac every now and then. So
If you do like your Big Macs, just taking a look at that meal and looking at a good healthy substitute for a Big Mac and removing what makes it unhealthy, I guess. It would probably be the bread or this, like really taking like just little nitpick stuff like, okay, mayonnaise, it's got this many calories, that much fat, what can I substitute? Like every little substitution really helped me. When you could have a 1,500 calorie, well, that's kind of high, but a 1,000 calorie meal that you can almost make between 3 and 5, but it's the same meal, but it's you just took away a few things from it, and it still tastes good, it's still tasteful. But another thing, like I said, finding that the healthy substitute is mostly it, but remembering that food, it's fuel, like if it's not to, it's to get you, it's not to we're not looking to get absolutely full. We're looking to get fueled and fill the nutrients, like when I started understanding that, like I would used to just stuff myself. I'm like, I'm not full enough. I'm like, hey, well, but you're good to go. Like you probably ate enough food for the next 2 days, but that's how I used to eat. I think it was a childhood thing too. Like, you don't get up from the table if you haven't finished your food, but why? I'm actually full and fueled, right? So I'm good to go. So think about that, because you're not. I think that's really what it was for me. Just learning. I'm looking for fuel.
Mm-hmm. So how do you avoid beating yourself up when you have slip ups, which we all do?
Beating myself up. I got distracted by one of the comments there.
What do you say? Them cheddar baked biscuits. Are those the ones from those ain't the ones from Red Lobster, are they?
I'm pretty sure.
Red Lobster, I can't even go to Red Lobster, and I don't even eat fish. I just go in there and eat the biscuits all night. Just give me a basket of biscuits and I'm good to go.
How do I prevent beating myself up? I guess I track it. I track my food even on bad days. Like sometimes people don't, like, they track it on a good day, right? And I'm like, they're good to go. But for me, it became a habit to say, how much damage am I really doing? Like if I do eat this cupcake, if I do, just splurge a little bit, if I do have that tequila tonight, right? So I'm like, I take a look at what I really did, and I'm like, it's not that bad, and I kind of look at how I can make up for it in that day, and also, the next day, I'm like, is it a habit? If I eat that every day, have I made it a consistent? Am I consistent with my workouts and what I normally eat? Then I'm good to go. But if I'm eating chocolate cake every day, I've made that a habit. That's when I need to where I only beat myself up. If I'm making it a habit, that's when I have to do that reevaluation. So,
so we got the exercise knowledge, we got the diet knowledge, and you gave a lot of good things tonight. My next question is, what have you been motivated to do now that you've lost so much weight that maybe you weren't motivated to do prior?
Inspire, impact, tell my story. I think there's someone just like me out there who they don't even, like, they're sitting there on the couch maybe, and this could be their life 5 years down the line. But for me, when I logged into Instagram and I found a stranger that I could relate to and really just observed them and seen that they could really do it, I'm like, okay, you just felt, after I followed their journey and I would proceeded to do the same things, I just wanted to pay that forward, because I know I didn't have anybody in my life who was going to pull that out of me. You know, like it's good to surround yourself with people who hold you accountable and really want to see you become the best version of you. And not everybody has that in their life. And it encouraged me to do that, not in just, you know, just applying these success principles to everything that I do as far as relationships, as far as business goes. It's something that I've become really, you know, inspired to write a book. I've wrote for a long time, but really commit, you know, think about the commitment, what the results are going to be if I commit to all like my dream as much as I've committed to my weight loss. And I think that's going to be huge for me. Like, I don't know what's in store. Just like I didn't know what was in store for me when I lost the weight, you know?
So what closing words would you give someone of encouragement now that we've come to the end of this awesome interview? What closing words would you give to someone that's still thinking about doing something?
I would say, you know, that the challenge equals change. And if it's not challenging, if whatever you're doing in life isn't challenging you, it's not going to change you. If you really want those changes, and the encouragement really is to, man, I say, just imagine what your life could be like, I guess. The really just once you've mastered that, you know, once you've mastered this skill set and apply this success to your life, the whole way around, like you just know what's in store for you. That your next best life is probably in the next couple of years or so. It was as crazy as it may seem right now. It's there, it's coming, and you know, think about your faith, you know, and that you wouldn't be going through, you know, what you're going through for absolutely no reason. And you have a story. I think that's huge. Everybody has a story, and think about the story that you'll be able to tell to help someone else and be an example.
So I think tonight you gave a lot of usable information. But guys, if it just stops there, then the time you spent with us tonight is useless. So don't let the time that you spent with us tonight be useless. Use the information. If you just take one thing from this interview and start there, take one thing and start there, you're going to get great results. So guys, we are about to get out of here, but before we do, give everybody your, I know they're going to have questions. People, how can they reach out to you directly?
You can reach out to me through Instagram, obviously, Music for the Soul Only. My name is NauBriana Light on Facebook. I do have my challenge, a weight loss challenge website that's about to launch next week, which is challengeequalschange.com. So you actually can reach me on that. And yep, those are the only ways right now.
So guys, I'm going to put those links in the description of the YouTube video so you can reach out to NauBriana directly and follow her journey, because we are going to do a follow-up interview once she gets to her ultimate goal. And then we'll talk about what she's done from this point to that point. But I want to thank you for being on the show and coming on and sharing your story and inspiring the world. Guys, make sure, again, you just do it. So that's it for tonight. Another awesome episode of Weight Loss Warriors. Again, if you've missed any of the past episodes and you want to get caught up, head on over to youtube.com/fitnessmotivation4u2. That's fitness motivation, the number 4, the letter U, the number 2. Also, if you got a weight loss story that you'd like to share and you'd like to do it here on a future episode of Weight Loss Warriors, and you're watching this live, go ahead and DM me. But if you're watching this on YouTube, down below in the description, click the link and let's talk. Last but not least, if you're looking to start a weight loss journey and you don't know what to do, or you've already started a journey, but maybe you're just not getting the results, I'd love to help. If you're watching this live, DM me. But if you're watching this on YouTube, down below, there'll be a link in the description. Click that link and let's get to working together to get you into the absolute best shape of your life. Guys, this is Mr. Fitness, the body transformation specialist, and NauBriana signing off. There's always, where there's a will, there's a way. And I hope you have an awesomely great day. Till next time.
Thank you. Bye.
You're very welcome.